It's a sad reality, but can you really blame him? And couple the current rate of destruction with Kamala Harris' presidency, and the uncertainty level will make it nearly impossible for business to thrive here in America. The question is that what Kamala wants? An America that fails to lead the way in every sense of the word? Joining me now to weigh in is author of Preserving Liberty, Josh Bernstein. Josh, it's so great to have you.
It's great to be on the program with you.
So we're at a quite the state of affairs. We have a person that says they're running for president. We have an absentee president, and we know that those people are not running the show. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, so I guess that begs the question, who is then, right? One has dementia and is sitting on a beach in Rehoboth. Another one is cackling her way through the swing states and basically has no plan or policies that that anyone in America that is completely sane would want to adopt and live under. And so, who is it? Well, I mean, it was Susan Rice for quite a bit, for the first 2 years of the fake regime in Washington. But then, Jill wanted to consolidate her power. And so Jill kicked out Susan Rice in May of 2023. And since that time, Jill has been the iron fist in the White House there in Washington. So this is what we've seen. We know there's no relationship between what I call Heels Up Headboard Harris on my show and Jill Biden. And so they're at each other's throats. They don't like each other. The Obamas don't like the Bidens anymore. So there's a lot of infighting going on there. And it's just a catastrophe, quite frankly. So who is? I guess you could say at this point, America is being run as an oligarch, where you have a group of globalists and leftists and Marxists that have all got together with absolutely zero experience and decided, let's run a country and destroy it. And that's exactly what they're doing.
Yes. And, you've brought up some interesting points and what I would call proof that Jill Biden is actually a lot more than what people realize. Talk to us about that, and talk to us about President Trump and the assassination.
Yeah, clearly, I think if you look at what has happened, I mean, just here recently, you had an incredible expose, and you actually had real experienced people on the panel. I mean, you had Corey Mills, the congressman from Florida, was also a sniper. You had the Arizona Congressman Eli Crane, who also was a sniper. And then, of course, you had somebody that spent many years in the U.S. Secret Service and who, quite frankly, could be under Trump, the new Secret Service director in Dan Bongino. And, of course, you had Eric Prince and you had the other gentleman whose name escapes me at this point. But you had a panel of experts, and they laid it out. And one of the things that came from that expert panel was that gross negligence or criminal negligence and, the fact that this could have been purposeful were indistinguishable. Those were the words that they used. And so that's not coming from me or you or from anyone else. That's coming from the people that would know. They would understand how it is. And all you really have to know, and this is what I've been talking about on my show, is that whoever did what and whatever, whether it was a second shooter, the bottom line is they allowed the shot to get off. That's it. That's all you have to know. They allowed that shot to get off. And so I think there's a lot more questions than answers.
Well, Josh, and also the guy was up there for a long period of time, and people on the ground were pointing at him. So how did he even get up there? I mean, this is, no one can deny that this was done purposefully by someone wanting to assassinate our president. This wasn't a lone guy like they've tried to make us believe about these types of assassinations or assassination attempts in the past. So, who is really running the country? Who is, doing these things? and for what purpose. So we know, you're an author. We want you to talk about your book, Preserving Liberty. You talk about with your book, it says bold and brave solutions to save America and create permanent freedom. Well, as someone that is very interested in preserving permanent freedom, I've lost my freedom in jail for 36 hours. I may lose my freedom for many, many years coming up October 3rd at the sentencing. People just really don't understand that normal, everyday citizens are in danger of losing their freedom, or even worse, losing their life. Look what's happening in Aurora with the Venezuelan gangs taking over apartments buildings, now in Chicago, all over this is going to, and we've known that this is going to come all over the country. So talk to us about that, Josh.
Yeah, well, clearly, I mean, we're seeing it happen. I mean, so far they said it's these gangs have been located in at least 11 different states and many major cities around the United States. And so I've been telling people on my show to protect yourselves, to make sure that you have protection, because you don't know when someone's going to show up, possibly at your door, possibly at your apartment complex, wherever it may be. And it's pretty frightening to know that they allowed this to happen all because they want illegal aliens to vote in an election. So in other words, they said, we don't care about who's coming into the country. We just want to make sure that they're going to vote for the Democrats. And we don't care. It's collateral damage if, hundreds of thousands of Americans are murdered in their homes, in the streets, wherever it may be. It doesn't matter. It's collateral damage so that we can stay in power. And I think that that's the message that this illegitimate regime in Washington is portraying to the American people. My book is basically 192 pages of solutions, 100% solutions. I go through a lot of different things. Of course, election integrity is a big part of it as well. There's 3,142 counties or county equivalents in the United States of America, and 144 counties possess 50% of the entire U.S. population. But yet we sit here with a straight face and say that we are a country, a representative, republic of, for, and by the people, when 95% of those people have virtually zero say in who their elected officials are. So only 5% are making the decisions for the other 95%. How do we change that? Well, one model that we could look at is, of course, Nebraska and Maine, who do their electoral votes based on county rather than on a winner-take-all basis. And I think if we did something like that and we broke it down between metropolitan cities, micropolitan cities, and sparsely populated cities, and giving metropolitan cities more of the electoral votes as opposed to micropolitans. Metropolitans, by the way, are 50,000 people or more. A micropolitan is 10,000 people to 49,999. And then, of course, 9,999 and under are sparsely populated. Well, why not give some of that power back to those people in those lower populated counties in the United States of America? Because right now you've got 2,998 counties. And if you live in one of those, you have no say. You have no say in who your president is, your senator, your congressman, heck, maybe even your local election people as well. And so one of the things that I talk about is a way to fix that, because obviously the left, they want to get rid of the electoral college completely, right? They want to run up the coasts where all the population is so that Republicans can't win elections. So if my idea was ever implemented, then it would retract and take away the power from the big urban blue epicenters, and it would restore it back to where its rightful owners are, we the people, in a representative republic.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, Josh. It's interesting, and that's exactly the places that they cheat so much with the elections and the machines and the mail-in voting, and centralizing the election so that no one really is watching the foxes run around the hen house in these major cities that determine the outcome of the election. And we saw that in the key battleground states. but it's happening everywhere. I mean, when I saw it happening in a local city council election, I was shocked. I thought, oh my gosh, this has worked its way down all the way to the local level. And, I remember traveling around and talking to people, Josh, and saying to commissioners and election officials and things, and they said, oh no, it would never happen in my town. I said exactly the same thing. We had a town of 115 electors, population of 150,000, a little bit more. And I said the same thing. They wouldn't mess with us. We're just a little town, but they did, and they do. And so, I agree with you. I think we need to make these, and you find mostly in these states or these areas which you're talking about, more conservative people, ranch,
Correct.
farmers, people that are putting food on the table for us and all that. And it's just a different demographic.
Yeah. And another thing we need to do is we need to get rid of sandbagging. Okay. Everyone needs to report at the exact same time on election night by midnight.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it needs to be. Because I'll never forget in the runoff with Warnock and Herschel Walker, and you could clearly see Herschel Walker was winning and winning big, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 percentage points throughout the majority of the night. So I called my buddy Garland Favorito from Voter GA, and I said,
Mm-hmm.
Garland,
Yep.
I'm noticing Fulton County isn't reporting what's going on. And he goes, they're sandbagging. And I said, is he going to pull this out? And he goes, I don't know, probably not. So what were they doing? They were waiting for as long as they possibly could for all the red counties to report. And then they figured out how many votes they needed to steal in order to say, wow, it was a real close, razor-thin victory for Warnock. Give me a break, okay? Give me a break.
Yeah.
There are so many representatives right now in Congress that are illegitimate. You couldn't even, the amount is astronomical. We'd be here for hours if I went through all their names.
You're right, and that's why I talk to people about selections. And I fired out some against some people on X because I said, why aren't you talking about this? Why aren't you talking about the election? We know there's corruption in the election. These representatives that can't even walk a block across to the trials of these J6. I mean, look at what's his name, Ryan Samsel. This guy has literally been beat up, brutalized, denied medical treatment, put in solitary, moved around. They call it diesel therapy. Where are these people that are supposed to be standing up for the people of the United States? Where are the people standing up for me? Lauren Boebert in my own state, she met the guy that did the image the day before and then did it again the day after they left. The Secretary of State and Jenna Griswold and the Dominion voting systems left. Won't even say a peep about elections. I say you can't hogtie that girl down and get her to say anything. And I'm telling you, I think we've got to keep shining lights on these people that are not doing their jobs. And they think that by putting me in prison on October 3rd, I'm sure they think they're going to shut me up. But oh, no. I'll tell you, the people are so upset. And those that aren't putting out about this outrageous verdict, putting a Gold Star Mom whistleblower that I was doing my federal duty to preserve election records. It just so happened I came across a murder, Josh. And when I came across the murderer, now the murderer knows I know, and he's trying to get rid of me. And that's kind of what we're looking at with the cabal, because they've been stealing elections in over 71 countries, including and besides the United States. So, okay, so what do we do? It's a short time. People are saying, oh, Trump's going to get in. We look at the numbers, it's all there. I think people are starting to be very complacent, even this close to the election. Right?
Yeah, and that is a big problem. I'm happy to see that there are groups now, True the Vote, Catherine, and many other groups out there. I think even CPAC said that they're going to be watching drop boxes. But I will tell you that we need to either have Bikers for Trump or some other group of folks out there watching the drop boxes, I would tell you, if you live in one of these 7 swing states, that's 93 electoral votes. I would tell you to go and search online, where are the drop boxes near me, find out where they are, and then get a team of your closest friends, 5 or 6 of you from church, whatever it may be, and work on surveilling these drop boxes, human intelligence, not just cameras. I'm talking people standing there between the hours of, let's say, 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. and have teams of 4 or 5 or 6 people, and you each take a block of 2 to 3 hours or whatever it may be. You also may want to reach out to your local police departments and call the non-emergency line and say, excuse me, officer, but I live in such and such. I want to know specifically what the such and such police department and the sheriff's department is planning on doing to securing these drop boxes so that we do not have another situation that happened in 2020. And so we've got to be proactive. It's not just about voting and praying. It's about voting, being active, being activated, and doing what you can extra to watch things, watch the parking lots, watch the drop boxes, go down to the counting centers, make sure they're not doing any nefarious activities, behind the scenes. We have to make sure we have all hands on deck, because President Trump should win, and win easily, as long as we can keep the fraudulent activity at a very, very low volume.
That's right. And, one of the things that people aren't looking at, that they need to be looking at, is the Postal Service. This is a government entity that is in on this. Think about it. When they inflate the voter rolls and they create these ballots for people, these phantom voters, and I know this because, when I was clerk, they wouldn't let us go in and look at the database, the voter registration database, and mess with it until after the election, because they're in there inflating it, getting ballots sent out to addresses. The post office goes, well, those people don't live there anymore, so we'll just keep these over here. And then they're shipping these ballots off, in my opinion, to house these ballot houses that you saw in 2000 Mules, where these people are filling out these ballots. So these are ballots that could be legitimate ballots. They're not. That are being filled out by other people. Then, like you said, Josh, they're putting them in drop boxes, things like that. So I think that's a great idea. And there's plenty of people that boots on the ground that can do this locally. So what other good ideas do you have?
And you're right. We'll take a trip down memory lane. You may remember before the 2020 election, when DeJoy was the appointment for the head of the U.S. Postal Service. And they went absolutely crazy because he came in and he wanted to fire a whole bunch of people. And if you remember, you had Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and all these other people, ginning up all the crazies to protest. And Trump, for whatever reason, backed down from that and told him, don't fire these people now. Well, you know what? If he would have allowed DeJoy to do what he was supposed to do, perhaps 2020 would have turned out a lot different.
You're right. This is happening at so many different levels. Now we know about the NGOs, the non-governmental organizations that are doing so much, that have been doing this all along. We're just finding out about it, and people are becoming so people watching your show, watching my show, as long as we can keep putting this word out, then we need to keep doing that, and people need to keep sharing it. So make sure you guys go to jbu.com and share and watch Josh's show to get the real truth, because the truth and getting away from the propaganda is something that everybody needs to be shouting out about. But tell us what else is going on. You talked about the shooter with Trump. You've talked about the election. What else is on your radar?
Well, one of the things that I talk about in Preserving Liberty is a book that if you pre-order it, it comes out October 8th. But if you order it, this is a book that you want to have a yellow highlighter in hand, because there is that much solutions, that much information. There's 10 legislative solutions that could be brought up in Congress to fix a lot of our issues and problems. There's an additional 30 other solutions in the book. I don't just complain about the issues. I explain exactly how, through limited government, we can solve a lot of these issues. For instance, how do we rein in the FISA court? The FISA court's been around since the 1970s. They have a 99.9% acceptance rate on spy warrants. They have only denied 12 warrants in their history. And so this is a shadow court that's almost as powerful as the U.S. Supreme Court, and they answer to absolutely nobody. So how are these 11 justices chosen to be on this court? They're all chosen by the Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, John G. Roberts, Jr. So one of the suggestions that I have in the book is that a very very minimum, why don't we at least put these judges under the advise and consent of a Senate confirmation process so that they do have oversight, so that we can control some of their behavior, or possibly not put certain judges that are brought up for a possible confirmation process, and we can deny some of those judges. Right now, you have the U.S. Justice for the Supreme Court basically picking and choosing whoever it might be, and they're rubber stamping our rights away.
Interesting, because when you say John Roberts, I remember the stories out there about him being overheard yelling at in chambers when there were some issues that were brought up, if you want to talk about it. But and that's what makes me wonder also with SCOTUS. What's going on with SCOTUS? I mean, why aren't they going through all these, exposing all these election crimes? They know they're going on. They've already been presented to them, and they're not hearing them.
Well, I think, you would think that they would, because if the wrong people get into power, they're going to try to flood the court, right? They're going to diminish their power. They're going to diminish their ability to adjudicate decisions, right? Because there's going to be more people. They're going to flood the court with left-leaning Marxists, right? They're going to go against the Constitution instead of adhere to it and support it. And so you would think that they would want to take these cases, right? Why wouldn't they want to take these cases? Pennsylvania versus Texas. I mean, what are you talking about? There's no standing. You had 22 states. That's a lot of standing. Okay, I'm sorry. It's a ton of standing.
And Arizona.
I don't understand.
Look at Carrie Lake's case. Carrie
Lake.
We just put one up. We will put one up about the 14th Amendment, and doing your federal duty. I mean, it's like none of these are going through. It's almost like the Constitution doesn't exist anymore. And that's the thing that I believe the globalists want to get rid of. They can't take over a country that we still have a Constitution. And that's our only protection.
You brought up a really good point, and I want to address this. And this is to Carrie Lake's campaign and Bernie Moreno and so many of these others. We know that they're cooking the books. We know that there are suppression polls out there. We know that Harris is not doing anywhere near as good as they're trying to make her look. But we're also seeing that in these Senate polls. And if these people are losing, possibly by 8 to 10 points, well, how's that going to bode well for President Trump? So I'm not sure what's going on. I'm in a swing state here in where I'm at, and I'm not seeing ads for these candidates anywhere. And I'm only seeing the candidates that are lying and trying to pretend that they're not radicals all over television and radio. So get with the program. I mean, I don't know. Is it a funding issue? Is it something else? But they need to light the fire, and they need to start quickly. Because if they're going to be losing these Senate seats, that's not going to bode well for President Trump in this election.
No, it's not. It's not. And speaking out, people need to speak out while you still have a voice. And Josh, you know how important that is. I mean, that's why we have these shows, is we've got to start speaking out. People have got to not be silent and not be complacent. And that's, I think that this whole lulling us, and I have people tell me all the time, they say, well, when Trump gets in, he'll be able to pardon you. No, become educated. Mine is a state case. It's not a federal case. The governor, the radical gay governor, Jared Polis, would have to pardon me. Do you think that's really going to happen? No, we need to step in now. We can't wait for so-and-so to get elected. We can't wait for this to happen, because once you wait and once they cheat, it's too late. It's hard to unring the
Exactly.
bell. It's hard to unscramble the egg. So
Yeah,
we've
I
got to
agree
get out.
100%. And let me just say here before we wrap up, I don't know how much time we have, is that I am absolutely in awe of you. Truly, I am. I mean, you're an incredible inspiration to every patriot in this country. I mean, here you are facing this horrific possible sentence that's coming up, and you're smiling and you're still fighting back and you're doing your show on Frank's Speech. God bless you. I'm going to say prayers for you, as I know many others will as well, that it works out in your favor. You're a very important voice for the movement for freedom and liberty and prosperity. And I just want to tell you what an honor it is to be on your program.
Josh, I really appreciate that. When people say this to me, because my husband was a Marine, my dad was in the Navy, and of course my son, a Navy SEAL. So that was our family. We learned the proper use of firearms. We learned to respect one another and, to respect authority, lawful authority. But what we're going through right now is not lawful authority. This is a 1776 Declaration of Independence. People need to read that Declaration of Independence. And everywhere that it says the king, put in there the Biden administration or the globalists or whatever. Substitute that in there for the king. And you're going to see we're fighting the same fight right now. And if we can even just get 3% of the people to stand up, if a grandma like me, almost 70 years old, can stand up and take the battering that I've taken, and I would tell you, Josh, when people say that to me, I say, in my heart, in my mind, I'm saying it's my duty. It is my duty. And just like anybody else, you're being drafted in some cases into this army, and you have to stand up and you have to take
Absolutely.
your place.
Because if we won't do it, who will? We've got to be brave. We've got to continue to speak out. And we've got the best thing that we can do is educate, changing
Yes.
hearts and minds. That's really, the key to a lot of what, we do. And I've said this many times, when Democrats become educated, they turn into Republicans, they turn into conservatives. And that is the kryptonite against the left, education. It is exposing their lies. It's exposing their language. It's exposing everything about them, what they stand for, what they say one way, but really mean another way, how to interpret their lies. I mean, it's almost a psychology, if you will. And it's something that I've been doing for the past 12 plus years. I've taken my lumps. I've had my threats. I've had countries attack me. I've had all kinds of interesting things happen, but we're keep fighting, and we're going to continue to fight to save this country, because we will never live under tyranny. That I can assure you.
That's right. And I just spent some time with Mickey Clan this weekend, and also Patrick Colbeck was just on my show on Monday and Tuesday. People need to go back and watch that show and understand that those that are on the other side, the Antifa, these NGOs that are fronts for literally terrorist organizations that are meant to take away your very sovereignty. You need to understand. You need to watch that show with Patrick and see there's a FaceTime or some kind of a video conference call with all these people that I think it was Millennial Millie put out, and showing how organized they are. You take that, you do this, we're going to do this, all right. The real insurrectionists. We need to come together as people and have our own groups like this, that we say, okay, like what you said, Josh, we're going to, here's the schedule of who's going to go out to the drop box at this place, this place, so on and so forth. Who's going to relieve who at what time, and whatever it is. Give us a couple more good ideas. We have like 2 minutes left. And
yeah, I mean, look, God bless Charlie Kirk and what he's doing with Turning Point Action, and Scott Pressler with early vote action in Pennsylvania. 300,000 hunters are not registered to vote. If anyone would be a supporter of the Second Amendment, it would clearly be the hunters. So if you're in Pennsylvania and you're a hunter, get registered to vote, because here's the bottom line. If there's more women, single, whatever, cat women or whatever you want to call them, as J.D. Vance called them, if they're going to go out and vote on one issue, which is the right to murder their children the day they're born, we're going to be in trouble. And so the only way we're going to combat that is with 58, 59, 60% of men voting for President Trump. Because if we just sit back and don't vote, or I'll get it next time, there ain't going to be a next time. Okay, folks? There's not going to be a next time. We've got to make sure that men are voting in huge, huge numbers.
I agree. One thing before we close, you had said something earlier that I wanted to circle back to, when you were talking about them stealing the vote, sending these gangs into the cities and things like that. But it was interesting. I wrote down martial law. They want to make it so that they can take our guns. So here we have Venezuelans going into these apartment complexes. Oh, we have to do away with guns. That's the exact opposite of what we need to do. We need to keep our guns. We need to be able to protect ourselves, and we need to be able to get out in the streets. And I love that the Hells Angels were on their way to Aurora, and I think more Americans like that need to get out and protect.
Yeah, they actually were not going there, though, to confront those gangs, apparently, from what I've heard.
Really?
Yeah, I have heard that they weren't doing that. They were going to Four Corners or something for another rally or something. There was a couple of Hells Angels or folks that put that out there. But regardless of that, where are the sheriffs? Where are the constitutional sheriffs? Where are other people that are going to confront these folks? I mean, if the police aren't going to do it, then unfortunately, then some people are going to have to police themselves and protect themselves. We are counting on the police to do their jobs and clear out this rat's nest of terrorists that were allowed in by this open border. And yet they're not doing it. Some of them are even denying it, right? Didn't police deny it and say, oh, that's just a figment of your imagination? Right. Meanwhile, there's video of it, right? And so it's happening all over. It's happening in Chicago and elsewhere.
That's right. Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to wrap for now, but we're going to call out the Hells Angels. We're going to call out these people. I think that rumor, if that was a rumor, it got started. We need to make it come true. So all you men that are gathering up just to have a rally and a good time and a barbecue, we need to come protect us in our cities right now. And we need the men to stand up. Josh,
you are a true man. Can watch the drop boxes.
There you go. You are truly a man and a protector of the people. I appreciate it. People go watch his show and buy his book, Become Informed, but not only that, inform other people, but not only that, get busy and be active. Josh, thank you so much for coming on.
Really God bless. Anytime, any topic, and please, God bless you, and we're going to be praying for you for a positive outcome, okay?
Thank you, Josh. I'm very grateful.
God bless.
Thank you. Great, great man, Josh Bernstein, author, Preserving Liberty, and the host of the Josh Bernstein Show. Stick around, more up next.